Introducing the Open Palm Podcast, hosted by Jerome Shaw. Available today on your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and many more. The Open Palm Podcast, where the host engages his listeners with inspirational messages, motivating themes, and thought-provoking ideas. Topics include: make more mistakes, how much is your value, don't get right, get going, learning to let go, excellence is a habit, and more. Binge listen today. Subscribe today. It's getting excellent ratings. That's the Open Palm Podcast, hosted by Jerome Shaw. You can also find it on YouTube. Make sure you share it with your social networks and connect on Twitter and Instagram at Jerome Shaw. That's the Open Palm Podcast with Jerome Shaw. Available today on your favorite podcasting platforms. Go listen, download, and subscribe now.
My friend, do you know about dopamine? Dopamine, akin to things like serotonin and oxytocin, these are feel-good chemicals in the body that we get from things like achievement, accomplishment, or pleasure, right? These feel-good feelings, kind of like when we exercise and we release all these endorphins, right? All these feel-good chemicals, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and dopamine. But dopamine is an interesting one. It's a very strong one, right? Dopamine spikes in the body. What does that mean for your body? What does that mean for your brain? In the mind, I speak from experience of knowing that dopamine can keep us in a cycle, going around and around and around, turning that hamster wheel in life in many forms just to get to that next dopamine hit. There are so many things in life that we don't consider addictive. We don't consider drugs. We don't want to put that label on things. This is a drug, right? We see cigarettes. Oh, that's a drug. Right? Tobacco, nicotine, it's a drug, right? But we don't think the same about TV. And we don't think the same about different foods and toxins in the body that enter the body from all these pleasurable foods. And we don't think the same about social media and scrolling, being in the infinite scroll hole of just thumbing down the screen and liking pictures and liking pictures and liking pictures and looking at other people's lives and living vicariously through other people and celebrities and wishing that our lives were different. We don't see that as a drug. We don't see that as addictive. We don't see the hold that it has on our life, the shackles that could be on our wrists, shackling us to this social media, this technology, right? These are wonderful platforms. I mean, I'm speaking to you on a platform right now, whether you're listening to this on your computer or your handheld device. This is wonderful that I'm able to touch a button and I can touch someone's life on the other side of the world. Technology is wonderful, it's tremendous. And I love technology, but I know that using technology in different ways can have different effects on the body and mind. Dopamine. In my life, I was heavily addicted to dopamine. I still am in certain instances and certain degrees addicted to dopamine. I admit I get a dopamine hit when I receive a good word, a kind word, someone saying that their lives were affected from my podcast, someone saying that they got a good message, someone saying that they stopped themselves from committing suicide because of something that I said. There's no feeling like it. No feeling like I've made a difference in this world, that my life has meaning, my purpose, right? But I was heavily addicted to dopamine in different ways, playing video games, stuck in that virtual reality, living my life in a fantasy world and craving to go back to that world. When I was driving to work, I was thinking of video games. When I was at work at my desk, I was thinking of video games. When I was in the shower, I was thinking of playing video games. When I was sleeping, I was dreaming of video games. It was so intoxicating. It was so alluring. It was so captivating. I had put myself in a box of dopamine. And getting that dopamine spike, that hit whenever I had an epic win, it just kept me stuck. Stuck on the couch, stuck watching the TV, stuck in a life that was less than for me. Stuck in a situation that did not fulfill me, that did not really bring me joy. And when I speak of joy, I mean long-lasting joy. Joy that elevates you, joy that permeates your entire body. The joy that I could get whenever I went out into nature, meditating in front of trees, feeling the fresh air, feeling the sun. The joy that I could get with a nice long conversation with a friend, that social interaction that I craved. Real life social interaction, and not just in front of a screen, not just with a headset on, not just talking to people who I'd never met in the flesh, but who I was traveling and traversing these faraway lands in this virtual world. That wasn't the joy that was long lasting, that fulfilled me. And so I chased these dopamine hits. And when I left the video games in Texas, driving to California, I thought I was done. I thought I had released and relinquished those things and that it was all behind me. But guess what? That dopamine, those receptors in my mind were still active, were still there, and they still craved that interaction. And you know what I did? I found ways to get it. Instead of cracking open a book and doing something that would really move me forward in life, that self-improvement, that personal development kind of joy, I cracked open my cell phone. And I went on the app store in my phone and I found different games to download on my phone so that I could occupy all the time I used to say I didn't have to improve my life. And I filled up all the voids in my schedule on my calendar, and I spent hours and hours in front of my cellular phone playing these games. And it was cyclical. I was just stuck in this cycle. Once again, it just more craved more, which craved more. I had to have more. On social media, the validation for being liked or having likes, right? Needing to feel accepted, that ego-driven personality that I was developing was putting me in yet another box of dopamine. Dopamine hits every time I put up a new picture and people would like it, and people would express their opinions, and people would comment and say, ooh, wow, this is nice, right? Entertaining people, being that performer. Of course, getting my bachelor's in theater arts, I was always a performer on stage, but would I be able to transfer this love of performance into something that truly gave me fulfillment, impacting another's life for the better? It wasn't until I did a digital detox or a dopamine detox, shedding all of the dopamine things that gave me those spikes, really letting go for 60 days, 2 whole months, I went without interacting with social media, without watching any television, without watching any YouTube videos, without going out and watching any movies. And going to the movie theater was one of my favorite things to do. Without playing any video games, I did all this for 60 days. And at the end of the 60 days, this dopamine detox, I felt more clarity. I could think clearly. I had more energy. I had more focus. I had more drive. I had more determination. All of my senses were online. I felt not only the pull, the drive, the need to improve my state of being, to improve my life with meditation and reading, but I actually wanted to. And I actually had the energy to do it. I was no longer fatigued and tired and lethargic because my energy was being pulled this way and that. Now my energy was devoted. I was more disciplined. If you are experiencing something like massive dopamine levels, if you ever have the feeling of a phantom vibration in your pocket and you reach in and there's no phone there, if you ever have a feeling of logging in or going online to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and then as soon as you exit the app, In the moment, in the window that your mind is unoccupied, you find yourself right back in the app, as if your thumb has pressed the button without you knowing it. You may need a dopamine detox, because I was there. The reason why I can speak on these things is because I was there. I knew what it felt like. And so now, I'm so happy and so proud of myself for where I've come, how the body has adjusted to getting off of these high levels of dopamine. Things like caffeine, video games, social media, all those things that spike you up and just keep you up. And every time we feed into those high levels of dopamine, we make it harder to do the things that actually move us forward, to do the things that actually give us a feeling of accomplishment, right? We make it less and less motivating to want to read a book every time we spend hours on Netflix or watching movies or watching TV. We make it that much harder. So knowing that there are only curves, there are no straight lines in life. We're always changing, moving forward or moving backward, moving up or moving down. The line is always curving, right? So which way do you want to curve? Do the things that are easy to do, but are also easy not to do. But don't fool yourself into thinking that it's hard. It's easy. Just like it's easy to smoke, just like it's easy to watch TV, just like it's easy to play video games, just like it's easy to spend hours on social media. It's also easy, just not to. And that was the difference. That was what I had to learn. That was what those 60 days of digital detox, of dopamine detox taught me. That all the things that I thought were hard to do, hard to let go, were actually easy. They were just as easy as doing them anyway. Don't allow life or circumstances or situations to fool you into thinking that the choice has not always been yours. Thank you for listening, my friend. This has been Jerome Shaw on TOP, the Open Palm Podcast, here in San Antonio, Texas. The Open Palm means harmony with the world, understanding our place in the world, using our skills accordingly, greeting the world with an open palm instead of a closed fist. I pray you received a kind message today, my friend, letting you know that maybe a dopamine detox is in order. And once you do your dopamine detox, if you do one, for a certain amount of days, going without that thing that gives you those heavy spikes in dopamine, those hits, right? When you go without that thing for a certain amount of time, you will find it much easier to gravitate back towards the things that actually give you fulfillment in life, that actually bring success in life, that develop you and make you into the person that you've always dreamed of being. It could be so easy, as long as you think it so. Share this episode with a like-minded individual who is learning and growing, becoming their greatest version, always. Pay it forward so more can hear the message. And if this is your very first time receiving this podcast, why not subscribe for more inspirational messages like this one? And if you feel it in your heart to support, consider opening your browser to anchor.fm/jshaw, and clicking that support link there is much appreciated, my friend. Thank you to all the wonderful podcast supporters and donators who continue to contribute to the podcast. Much love to you. Grab the new book now out on Amazon. It is called Finding Inner Peace, a guide to the wisdom within. You will see the link in the show notes of this podcast description in this episode. Have a wonderful and blessed day or night wherever you are. And as always, take care. Hey there, my friend. So you've heard about Anchor, but do you know why it's the easiest way to make a podcast? Well, first off, it's free. It allows you to use creation tools that let you record your podcast right from your phone or computer. It also distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can even make money from your podcast with minimum listenership. It's everything you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Can't wait to hear yours. Let's see what you have to offer the world.